So good evening. The open meeting of the Grafton Public Library Board of Trustees is being conducted remotely with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted on the town's website at www.grafton-ma.gov, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting, the Grafton Public Library Board of Trustees is convening via Zoom video conference, as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking, and please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. Very good. Yes, Beth.
I just realized something when I was listening to you.
Yes.
That if you say by
We're
losing her.
I'm sorry. If you say by the chair,
yep,
communication, then we can't text each other.
Correct.
So either you say it a little differently, because I go to so many Zoom and WebEx meetings now, almost every day. And people do communicate with one another, not in a negative way, but in a, whatever's the discussion. And so we should just have a really short conversation about how you want to conduct that.
So first of all, I think we agreed that the chat for the meeting is not part of the, it's not part of the recording, so it can't really be, we can't use it. I mean, if you were talking more about like, if I wanted to text you something because I forgot, oh, by the way, we need to talk about this or something, or, I just want you to put this on the next agenda for next week. That doesn't need to be included in the meeting. I think we can, text each other, right? That same as we would always do, during a public meeting, right?
Okay, I apologize. I just heard that and was like, wait a minute.
You meant the chat, right?
Yes.
Okay, yep, very good. Okay, so review of minutes. We have the October minutes to vote. Did everybody get the opportunity to review them and are ready to accept them? Okay. So can I have a motion, please, to accept the October minutes?
I have a quick question. I'm sorry, I'm out of the loop right here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I just wondered on the, I guess on page 4 and 5, it had like a very short analysis of curbside pickups and all the way, and museum passes, blah, blah, blah. It said during the month of August. Was that correct for the October? Was that August? And then because then the November meeting, the November had August too, in the same area with different numbers. So I just wondered what it was.
Can you tell me what report that is, please?
Sure, the one I'm looking at now, the October 28th, 28th said during the month of August, there are 690.
No, that's not what I mean. Is it the,
Oh, it's your minutes. Sorry, minutes. And the other one is the minutes too, but it was for November and it was talking about August. So I mean, one must be different. I don't know. I just was trying to figure it out. That's all. Because
Oh, that's
it
a
was
good catch.
good info. Because this is talking about how many curbside pickups and museum passes. Because we really are doing a lot. Hold requests and reference questions. I mean, almost 600 reference questions. That's a lot. And during August, wow.
so I just wanted to say that I believe that belongs to the first set of minutes and not to November. And I'm not sure, and I will check that. Okay, so you found that in both October and November, right?
Yeah, just mentioned August, but they're different.
Okay, well,
Different
that
date,
would be correct in
number.
October and not in November, and I will follow up.
Okay, good.
Okay,
I
Thank
thought that was
you.
really good the way that that was put in there.
The numbers are definitely correct for October and November, but Beth, because I send a statistical report, I don't know that you need to put them in the minutes because the report is supposed to go with the minutes to the clerk and get posted. It might save you some time. Just a thought.
But then I don't know what to put in the director's report.
The director's report is attached.
Well, this is only, it's like, it's a really short little column. But it just, I mean, it's up to you guys, you folks, but I mean, it's not bad.
October is correct and November needs to have that changed.
They both say August.
To September's report.
Okay,
The August report is correct.
wow, that's a
September.
lot. For the middle, for the summer, I think that we did well. Thank you, everybody, for your hard work.
So can I just kind of tie everything together that I just heard? So I think what I heard from Beth Galloway is it really doesn't need to be included in the report. And I think she said, we'll just say director's report attached because it's one of the things that needs to go anyways. So I think what I'd be looking for in a motion is to accept the October minutes with the omission of the director's report table, right? Or with that correction that just says, director's report is attached. Okay, great. Marty, did you want to make that motion? You'd like
Yes,
to.
I move that we're talking about the October 28 minutes be approved with the omission of the director's report as an attachment.
Okay, any second?
I'll second it. Dana Wilson seconds it.
Great, all in favor? Aaron Vandestein, aye. Doug?
Doug, aye.
Karen?
Karen, I.
Dana?
Aye.
And Marty?
Aye.
Great. Okay, I'm ready to vote on the November minutes. Beth is shaking her head.
I haven't read through them yet. I'm sorry. I've been at a virtual library conference all day Monday and Tuesday. So if we could table it till I have
Yeah.
a chance to look at them, I would appreciate it.
Yeah.
And December.
Sure. Beth Patch, if you're speaking, I can't hear you. So I think a really efficient way to control the microphone if you're on mute is hold your space bar. And
Yeah.
If you hold the space bar, you can speak and then you'll just let it go rather than trying to find the button.
I actually it wasn't working, but just really quickly in both of my emails, I was saying, can we please review these after the meeting so that they can be approved next month? But I will be asking you to please, like next week, I will ask you, have you looked at the minutes? so that they're done before the meeting, the review. And then in February, we can just approve both sets, if that's okay, because Beth hasn't even looked at them. And she's usually my first reviewer and sometimes my only reviewer. So that's not enough to you guys, just letting you know. Oh, Doug usually does though.
And I still miss things. I missed the August.
Yeah, so well, it's set in October, but it's not set in November, and I don't think you've reviewed those. So what happened actually is I wrote the right stats, but I just forgot to change the month, and I apologize. But I was really anxious to get these minutes done and off my chest.
Okay,
I got to tell you, everybody talks verbosely. You need to fix that, Erin.
verbosely. So we need to talk in simple language. I can do
No,
that.
like just be
Straight to the
blah, 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 blah.
Oh, come on, Beth. You don't like hearing us? You don't like to be
I-
here to 9:30, 10 o'clock?
I like it when the
Break out the
minutes say,
champagne.
I like the blah, blah, blah.
I like it when the minutes say a discussion was held around. What?
How,
That's it.
can I just say,
I gotta laugh. I'm
say one
sorry.
thing before we go back? December's minutes regarding the bills, oh no, budget 22. They, I could do nothing after listening to them twice, but to say, this has to be succinct. This is important. I can't just go as discussion was held regarding bills, because there was a lot of important items. So I'm sorry, Doug, but
You
it's
don't like our
probably
meandering conversations?
4 paragraphs, which you'll see if I don't finish it tonight, I'll send it to you tomorrow. But I could do nothing but write what it was about. It was really important. So, okay, Erin, I'm sorry.
It couldn't have been me because I don't talk that much.
No, it was
Doesn't. I bet it wasn't him. I bet it was Karen.
no, it was Beth, and she said a lot of important things about our budget for
Yeah, I'm joking.
opening. So, okay.
Okay, great. That was a great minutes discussion. How many minutes? 28 minutes. But great. I'm glad we had this discussion because, certainly feedback that you give us, Beth, I think helps the overall process. So I appreciate that. All right. So review of the bills. Any questions regarding the bills for Beth before we vote to approve them?
To clarify, I think we're looking at warrant 27, 28, 29, and 30. I forgot to send 31 to you last week, so just those 4.
Warrant 28.
29, 27, 28,
Got it.
29, and 30.
Yeah, I had one question that I asked Beth. It's really around the licensing. I think it's kind of nice for us to see like all of the products that are licensed on a yearly basis, just so we can get the extent of how much we're paying each year for licensing and for each of those items, how valuable they are. Or I shouldn't say how valuable, how much they're being used and utilized by the public or by the staff.
Okay. Thank you, Doug. Any further discussion regarding the bills? Beth Patch.
You need to move.
Move. Do you mean
Emotion.
right? So let me just clarify something because you bring up an important point. We tend to have our discussion before we make the motion. I think proper conduct is to make a motion, second, and then discussion, right? Okay, great. So do I have a motion to approve the warrants 27, 28, 29, and 30?
Okay, I make a motion to approve warrants 27, 28, 29, 30. Do I have those right? Yes.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Great. Hearing none, all in favor? Karen,
Aye.
Aaron, I. Doug,
Doug, aye.
Dana? Didn't hear you. Saw you. Let's go to Marty
Aye.
and Dana.
Sorry, I'm getting a little slap so here. I had to turn off my mic in case you heard my son in the background. Sorry.
Okay, great. Okay, great. So we've accepted the bills. Next on the agenda, we have the grant update MPLCP building program grant. Beth.
So they have all the walls up and the roof up and doors and sheeting on any windows that aren't in, and temporary heating installed, and most of the work is now interior on the building, which is very exciting. They primed and started painting, which is very exciting. Most of the framing is done. There's supports in place for the spots where there's built-in counters going. I had a tour about 2 weeks ago, and I had seen as the outdoor siding was starting to go up. And lest anyone panic, it is siding that is going to be painted. We agreed on a color that was approved by the Historic District Commission, which is a pewter tankard or a gray color. So if you see a yellowish tinted siding, that's just the original primer color of it, and it will be painted gray.
When was your photo taken, Doug? I know you were stepping out of the way to show us.
That was like maybe 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it got all the way around the building. I was only on the other side when I think when I saw it 2 weeks ago.
Wow. Did you take that with an iPhone?
No, that's with the,
The report.
there's a construction camera that you can get access to that's taking videos all and pictures all the time.
Oh, that's wonderful. I want one, a different one.
So I'm about a week behind. I get the report as a day. I get a ton of photos and a daily report and upload them to the library's, excuse me, to our Facebook page is a big, long, annotated construction album.
Okay. I
So,
have to
yeah,
go
so
there
yeah,
then.
so I'm about a week behind. It was 2 months behind and I'm caught up. So one of the things that surprised me on the last tour is that those windows that you can see behind Doug, some of them open. So you go up in that room and there's a beautiful view of the inn and with a window that opens. It's really lovely.
That's really
And the other side of the building has more of a modern plate glass look. The windows don't have panes or lights, is what they're called, on this side of the building.
So is there any concern for windows that are accessible to the public that open? I mean, is it in a way that's, you know,
Yeah, I immediately said, oh, great, people can open the window and throw books out.
yeah, that's what they're going to do.
We don't have those kind of patrons. They won't. It'll be fine. And there's mostly offices up in those dormers.
Yeah.
I think there might be one meeting room in one of those spaces.
I asked for a
And
window.
they're very small.
And the way it's, yeah.
Yeah, they're very narrow. It's the narrow pieces on the sides, I think, that open. Yeah, I don't think it'll be an issue.
I asked for a window. Remember?
Yeah, we'll have to talk offline about that.
I think you got one.
So there's 2 people in that office, and Beth is the administrative assistant and needs to be by the door to meet people. I thought
Oh,
you and Eileen can duke it out.
Remember that it was my office, then I asked her and I invited her to sit with me.
I would be happy to discuss it offline.
I can be your lawyer.
Okay.
You can come sit on my window seat in my office.
I don't have any, okay. One thing comes to mind actually is if this is the appropriate time to discuss it, how are the plans coming along for the move preparation? Is that something that is kind of in the initial stages or?
Nope.
Mhm.
No, we still have the same substantial completion date, which is June 8th, which is when we would hope to get a certificate of occupancy so that we can move back. So I would assume last time, I think we planned 3 weeks. We already have the company contracted because it's the same company that moved us to St. Andrews. It's the same company who will move us back. We are going to be taking less stuff because all of that shelving is going to remain behind and probably a lot of the furniture since we're getting mostly new furniture. So I trust Andy will be letting me know at the appropriate time who is going to be showing up when with boxes, so we can start packing up our individual offices, which I would expect, like I said, the first week of June. And where it did take 3 weeks, it could take I don't know, it might take 2 weeks, it might take 4 weeks, but I would anticipate being closed for to the public for most of the month of June, while we set up and move over, and hopefully reopening July 1st in the new facility, hopefully to the public, but I don't know.
So I may be misremembering, but when I think you were planning the move to the temporary space, I felt like you were getting inundated with bids for moving companies, something to that effect. And I remember it was being mildly disruptive. It might have been the moving companies or something. But I just remember that it was you kind of had a lot on your plate at the time.
Yeah, I always
And
do.
to also have to, manage bids for moving companies, I think was
I was invited to sit in on those interviews, and we don't have to go through it because it's the same company. They're already picked. We just have to call and say, hey, you're coming, right? Here's the dates.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it will be less time intensive.
Okay.
Right now I'm inundated with furniture selection. Like, I don't know if the board is aware of how much of my job is actually working on the construction project, whether that's vendors calling me or trucks showing up at our temporary location because they have a delivery for the library at 35 Grafton Common, and getting them to the right place and forwarding things to Andy. Vendors cold calling to say, I have to write a monthly report. I have 3 to 4 meetings a week around the construction project, and it does detract from my regular job duties. It's only going to be another 6 to 8 months, hope, and we'll have a wonderful new library. But if I'm slow getting things done, it takes a lot of time. Big job.
Right. And you're typically the one who's on the you're a member of the building committee, right? So
I am a voting
right.
member, which is important to me.
Yeah. So
Yeah, but so we just ordered the materials handler, the automated materials handler from Biblioteca, who is a company who we ordered the self checks and the RFID patches and the scanners from, so we could start this process a couple of years ago. So I'm working with them and with Andy to make sure they have, and the architect to make sure they have the right floor plan for this machine with its conveyor belts and 2 openings, that we have the right number of bins, that yes, we want 2 more self checks, and that we have these security gates, which are going to be pretty much attached to the floor. Like when you go in through the building, through that new entrance, you'll see the spot where those gates are going to go. But technically, like, Andy's the one who orders it, so he got it ordered, and we put that he was the contact person, but I still have installers and shippers calling me asking if they can send the self checks today. No. And when can they come for the site pre-inspection? And I'm not on site. This is again, 3rd time to the company. This is the person to talk to. So I'm delegating as best I can and trying to make sure that, he has taken a lot of things off of my plate, but there are certainly times where normally, yes, the library director would, be working with the vendor and getting the stuff done and signing the PO and writing the contracts, but not in this case. So. But they don't get that, the companies.
yeah. So just to tie that back together, it's really you and Andy kind of managing the logistics on a daily basis of all the different
He does the bulk of the work. I had not anticipated how much was going to come to. What do you think? What do you think, Beth?
Yeah.
Come to this meeting, Beth.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear. I'm glad he's a good resource, and that was going to be kind of where I was going with this.
Yes.
Is you're on the building committee, and but the rest of the building committee has other obligations throughout the day, right? So they can't be kind of tied up handling all the logistics. So so I understand. Go ahead, Doug.
Well, I was just going to add the interior committee is a subcommittee that Beth and I are on, and that's an incredible amount of work for Beth because you think of how hard it is to pick out like a chair for your living room. We're picking out furniture for 30 different rooms and 5 different age groups. So Beth has been spending a lot of time with that, looking at specific items and comparing them to different items. But obviously that's really important because her and her staff are going to be the ones that know what they want and what librarians want. So it's been invaluable, of course.
Mhm. Let me know if you need help, Beth, because I'm around.
Thanks.
Just bounce something off me.
I hear we have some sample chairs getting delivered tomorrow to sit in. So
good.
exciting. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. That's all I had. Any other questions for Beth regarding the new library and the grant? I guess maybe where are we with the overflow of the budget? Have we had to dip into that?
So I want to say that the last meeting, which was the beginning of January, I think we had around 400,000 still left in our contingency. So we're not over budget. We're still within our borrowing capacity. And again, the bulk of change orders was, getting in the ground and working on the foundation and the site work, and the soil contamination was very expensive. I did submit, with Andy's input, 2 things to capital planning. I had originally asked if they could help pay for the AMH, and they kind of came back with, well, it was budgeted for in your project, so you guys take care of that. So we are. But we didn't include solar panels. If we get a silver LEED certification, we get a bonus from MBLC, which could be used to purchase solar panels. And we also, Andy brought to my attention that the cupola needs some work, and that was done, some of you have been around a while, was it almost 15, 20 years ago that they did cupola repairs? At the time of writing our grant, which was 5 years ago that I wrote the building program and we submitted the grant in 2017, the cupola was fine. But the people who have been working in and around that building are saying that, it's starting to rot and it needs some attention, and it probably needs about $80,000 worth of repair. So I filled out a new capital request for the town of Grafton. And they had some questions. I said, yes, I wasn't aware of it at the time that we applied for the grant. That's why it's not included. Yes, we still have contingency that might pay for it if there's money left over after we finish the project. Yes, we can apply to Mass Historic Commission to pay for about 50% of that because it's a historic building in a historic district. It's also eligible for CIPC money if it's a repair and restoration project. And then that would leave like a $20,000 gap if we can get those other funding sources. So that's on my radar. And also just because the LEED certification bonus, I don't think has to go to solar panels. It can go to anything, I think. I don't think it's even tied to LEED related stuff. So if we are going to get, at $165,000, we could use it for more furniture or, a piano. So I'm working on an application right now to EBSCO, which is a database and magazine service company to libraries that has an up to $200,000 grant for solar panels for libraries. So I started working on that. So just, again, no, we're not over budget, but we're still always looking for other sources to help fund this project. Anything that we can do to reduce it for the taxpayer is a win.
Thank you. Do you know where we are in the waiting list? Has anybody checked in a while regarding getting funding from the MBLC?
Yeah, I haven't, but I doubt it's changed. I think we were like 9, right? It was like 4. There was a list that was going to be fulfilled that should have started getting fulfilled this past year. And then we were like 14th and bounced up a little bit. I can check and report back in February.
Okay.
Yeah. And all it means is, when are we getting the reimbursement checks from the state? They did get all of their funding to fund our library and several others. They did not get their hope for $250 million construction bond to fund everybody on the waiting list. It went to like 36 or 38 names, I think. So the bottom 10 don't have money. Even in 5-10 years, they don't have money unless they rebond.
Okay. Thank you, Beth.
Sure.
Anybody else?
It's just one quick question.
Mhm.
Have you, as far as the LEED certification, does that, is there anything, have we found anything about any leads? I mean, grants that might pay for some of the green roof or any of that?
I thought that I had sent a list.
Oh,
Are
okay.
you asking if am I the one who's supposed to be applying for that? Is that is not on my radar if I was supposed to be doing
Did
that
you
myself.
send me a list?
Yeah, I can resend it.
Okay.
I
I'll
did.
look
I
at
might
it.
have imagined it. I know I researched it.
No, I don't know. We'll see. And then we'll have to, I'll look for it and then I'll update, you and I will talk.
Oh, great.
Because we were talking about that, because the fact that we're doing the green roof, we're going to get more, that's going to help us with the LEED certification, correct? To get some of the monies.
I think we're at 8 or 9 points short at the moment for completed pieces of the project that are LEED eligible. And I think that they will make it. There was a meeting that I didn't need to attend and didn't attend.
Okay. Okay, I'll look for that and then
Okay.
I'll get back to you. We can
Okay.
talk.
Great. Thank you, Dana. Okay. Any further discussion? Great. Let's move on the agenda, the Grafton Public Library Capital Campaign. Dana.
Hi, well, things are going really well. I just wanted to say that we've been working closely with Andy and we're trying as best, we're really trying to get any of the out of the scope of the project's work. We're trying to flush out what's there so we can figure out, you know, what donations we can go after. So that's been really good because Andy's been very helpful with that. And I did join Andy on one tour with a Grafton official, and that was really good because he needed my assistance. So that's going well. And we're working on some new leads. So we're really, you know, we're just tearing through it. We're really excited. And we went through everything again. We found some new entities within the building that we can use for endowments or naming rights. So our committee had a Zoom meeting the other day and we approved that as a group, what the prices that we would put for this stuff. So, and I go back and forth and work with Andy and he's helping me get pricing for certain things. Like we're considering that there's a pavilion. And so he was getting some pricing for that for me. So it's been going really well. It's great to work with Andy and Doug, and Dawn's working with us too, and Carrie too. So it's going really great. I'm really excited. So I don't know. I mean, we're trying to get as much done as possible. And I just, it's going well. I don't know if Doug wants to say anything. We've gotten a lot of, we're almost up to date with monies that are owed to us. We only have a short amount of money that hasn't come through, which we've been promised. People have really been, if they tell us something, they follow through and do it. So it's been great. I have to say that everyone's been great. We're getting the checks quickly. People have gotten the idea of the PO box, and I'm going and getting the checks. And Doug and I are probably going to share that responsibility, but that way it doesn't sit. And the Eileen knows not to pick up a check, and she's really great. She'll just send me a quick email saying, "Hey, there's something in the box for you." But I have to say, people have been really thorough and paying what they said they would pay. So it's been great. I'm really pleased with that. I don't know if Doug wants to add anything.
Nope. I mean, we're in the process of getting all the kind of agreement information, so we don't really have that yet. But just collecting that information from the donors. So we should have all that information soon.
Great.
It's really exciting. I mean, I think
It is.
you know, I think you know, you always come up with these numbers and you're not sure if they're too high or too low or whatever, but we've been really happy with the conversations we've had with our donors and what's been coming in. So we're excited.
Yeah, Marty, please.
Yeah, I have a question. I probably was not looking in the right place, but I went online the other day and I was looking what I thought was the website for the capital campaign. I was trying to find see if the brochure that went out, whether that was online. It's not.
No, we use that as a face-to-face discussion.
Okay.
Did I give you one? I gave one to each trustee.
You did. I do not know what happened to it.
I
but
can get you one.
All right, I appreciate that.
And
The
yeah.
other is.
And you can always ask me. I'm available anytime you have any questions.
Okay, the other thing you just mentioned that you had recently uncovered other naming opportunities. Will those things go on the website also?
We have a list. What we're really preferring to do is we're dealing with people directly right now. And that seems
Yeah.
to be the most successful because we're able to gauge what they're interested in. So that's really more successful. I know, I mean, I can share anything with you if you need something. And that that's what we're trying to do right now is focus on the bigger donors. And that's all I can say. It's just there's just a couple rooms that we didn't think were that, we didn't really overlook them. We just didn't want to overdo it. But then now that the building's coming into its own, you could see, I just thought, hey, there's a couple spaces here. And when I went out with Stephanie that one day, I people had said the room that was behind, next to Beth's office was just an office. I didn't know what it was for. And then it was explained to me it was for the reference librarian. And that was fire for Stephanie. She was just like jumping around. And I thought, gee, I better look through everything and make sure I don't miss anything. So that's kind of what I'm doing. We're doing due diligence. I may be overdoing it if anything, but I figured might as well. So, but if there's any specific information you want to know, just let me know. It's just like there's just a couple rooms like like there's rooms that we've been renaming, like the technical services room. It's a fair, nice amount of space. Why not see if someone wants to contribute to that? And we have our I don't have it in front of me, but the area that was called youth services, which that's like where they're going to do all the development work for all the programs, that's going to be named. And I also wanted to highlight the children's and the teenagers offices. They're like library directors. I mean, some of this stuff may not be named, but I figured we at least try, and it could be named in the future too. So I have a feeling that, I don't know, I could be wrong. I just have a feeling when people really see this building, they're just going to go nuts. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get some naming rights after the fact with some of these rooms that people haven't grabbed right now, like the children's librarian's office or the teens librarian's office. So
will there be at some point in the future an effort to literally go after smaller donations from the population at large, whether it's for bricks or things like, I don't know, that kind of thing?
Yeah, there will be. We also started this whole program off, so that with a big direct mail campaign to the friends, and we got a lot of small donations and large donations. But no, we can do that. It's just that our focus is not on that right now, but
That's
we will
fine.
focus on that more, because if someone would like to give us $150 or $50, we're more than happy to have it. And we appreciate everybody's input. So that's important. And we're figuring that out right now. The bricks have already been determined. So that is something that would probably be additional. We were thinking, because we have to figure out what's happening with the pandemic and all that, because what Beth and I and other people have been talking about is having like a soft opening. So I figure we'll know more as the summer goes on, as time goes on, then we'll figure out like probably a brick program or something like that. It's also, the other thing that's happening too is all the outside is, there's a big there's a design for all the outside of the building, the landscaping and all that. So we're trying to make sure everything fits in. So we're kind of, working with the building committee on that. So
The thinking came from a couple of conversations that I had with friends, not Grafton residents, but about the recent stimulus payments. We're having a discussion about, why are we giving $600 to people that really don't need $600? Where, the theory, the argument was, take that money and give it to the bottom 1/3 of the population, then they'll each get $1,800. And a number of people said, I'm just going to give that money to charity. I'll give it to a food bank or something like that. And I said to myself, well, there may very well be people in Grafton that don't have enough money to throw $10,000 at something, but they'd be willing to give their $600 to the library. So, but I presume that's not a naming right thing, but is there?
no, but
that's just what the thinking was. That's all.
yeah, no, we want all those kind of things. We're just focusing on this right now. You'll see,
Right.
like probably by within the next couple months. Where I can't, it's really hard because I can't really talk about what we're really doing, but offline I can. But I'm just saying, I think we're going to have some free time, which we can put more effort to that.
Okay.
And we will, and we'll figure out something that we think is appropriate for the way that the architect and the landscape people have designed the whole building, the way, look and feel of the building. Because we don't kind of want random things, and which I was really thrilled when Andy told me that they're doing a whole design of the whole landscaping for the whole building, which is going to make it look really nice. So we will do that. So
that's fine. Thank you for taking the time to discuss it here.
Yeah, I talked, and I mean, really, it doesn't have to be $500. It's like whatever anyone feels that they can contribute. And like you were talking about this stimulus, some people are not able to travel right now, and they're giving monies that they usually would use to travel. So we're seeing benefits of that,
Thanks.
Yeah, I would just add, I mean, Martin, you bring up a good point about just press and public announcements and stuff like that, which we haven't done a lot of because we've been focusing on these other items. But I agree. I think in the next month or two, we need to have a little bit more of a public outreach. I mean, maybe 2-3 months down the road.
maybe
And
by April. And
yeah,
I do PR, so I'll work on that. We'll get that down. We've done
Okay.
it really well before. I mean,
Great.
you didn't come to the grant. Did you come to when we were you a trustee when we had the opening in November?
No, November which?
20, was that
Groundbreaking.
2018, the groundbreaking?
The groundbreaking, that was in 2019.
No, I came on
2019.
board.
Okay, that was very
maybe
well
11
attended.
months ago, something like that.
Okay, there was hundreds of people there. And we had all the big shots and the wonderful people from the Mass Library Board of Commissioners. So, we'll do that.
I wouldn't have fit in with any big shots anyway.
Oh, no, there were a lot of little people like us.
Thank you.
It was fun. We'll show you some pictures. Beth, somebody took great pictures. I took a couple, but they took great pictures. We had fun. We were doing the breaking the ground and all that. No, it was really fun. You'll be there when we do the big thing, but no, we'll be tooting everybody's horn as soon as we find that appropriate.
Okay, thank you again.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Marty, I would just encourage you to just talk to Dana offline. I think you guys would have a fruitful conversation. But certainly, I know Beth is going to have a field day with this part of the minutes.
Oh, sorry, Beth, she's gonna kill me. I can help her with that. I can help condense it.
Sure.
With some wine.
With some wine.
Jesus. I got in trouble for having cranberry juice a couple months ago. Beth thought it was the real thing. It wasn't.
Okay. Any other discussion surrounding the capital campaign? Great. Well, I appreciate Dana and Doug, your efforts on behalf of the board for the capital campaign. And I think really the success with the kind of people paying or turning around quickly what they say they're going to give, I think also is part because of your efforts too. I think what you're doing is very effective in that, you're having the face-to-face, you're having the conversations, and you're getting a commitment, and then you're sending a follow-up letter as a reminder. Okay, now the ball's in their court, and I think that process is working very well. So I think that was well thought out, and it seems to be working. So nice work.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, great. So we're on to the FY22 budget update.
So I did submit upon request a revised budget because my initial request was over $1 million. So I submitted a request to Carter that was under $1 million, had minimal staff to manage the 5 desks in the new library that is almost 26,000 square feet, and does not meet the state aid requirement for materials expenditures. After discussion with MBLC, they told me that there were several options, though, that I really can count, things like the museum passes that the Friends buy. And that also, if we added 2 hours a week to our open hours, then we would only have to do 13% of our educational materials as part of the budget instead of 15. And I think that I can do that with the staff that I have. So now Carter is reviewing it. He and I are going to talk tomorrow. Actually, he checked in with me today. And I am expecting that I will be asked to cut either a percentage or a dollar amount. It doesn't sound like he will go the route that Tim used to do, which was just take off 2.5% from everybody. He recognizes that everybody's departments are unique, and some do have more than others, and some are already really skeletal. So now I'm just waiting for a conversation tomorrow to see how I need to further revise and trim my request. So I was able to negotiate a discount for the licensing for all of the automation software that we're getting, the AMH machine and the gates, which is wonderful. I'm very relieved. It just means really they will basically do like an extended 13 or 14 month pricing so that I don't have to pay $20,000 next year, but there will be a $20,000 charge in FY23 for all of that licensed equipment. So it's just postponing it so the blow is not quite as bad during this pandemic year.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you, Beth.
Sure.
Any questions about the FY22 budget? So I guess, will the next check-in regarding this be next month trustee meeting?
Yeah, I will probably have a revision in the next 2 weeks. We can discuss it again as a group in February. And then in March, that's when we usually have a request. I'm assuming it will be on Zoom. If Finance Committee has questions, they will ask either to meet with us or they will send a representative to chat, usually directly with me, but I'm happy to include a trustee to help advocate if they reach out to me. And then it will get voted on at town meeting. And it's usually, you know, pass fail. People don't often stop at specific line items. I always hold my breath when the library comes up.
Well, what they see at town meeting is just the figure, the
true.
flat number. I mean, it's hard to ask them to hold unless they're saying, well, why so much or why so little? Why so little?
It does have, we do spell out, there's a whole number, but then even in the paper, they will print the 3 lines, which is expenses, which is everything except for personnel and equipment, and those 2 are separate. So somebody could, you know, I put 0 for equipment because I think I'm getting everything that I need within the scope of the grant.
Mhm.
So now, of course, all those computers and iPads and digital projectors and whatnot will need to be replaced in 3 to 5 years. So that's when you'll see equipment come up again. But you know, if I put $5,000 for equipment because 3 people need laptops, then yeah, somebody could say, hold, keep using your old computer. Can't have the
Yep.
money.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, any other discussion regarding the FY22 budget? Okay, great. On to IT update.
We bought a new laptop for Beth. Beth has a laptop. I got a bill for it. So she did email me to say she wants a CD player, a mouse, and maybe something else. And I said, absolutely. I'll work on it. So things to plug in.
Yeah, those it's rare like to really think about, oh, I need a CD-ROM for my computer because they're not standard anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We probably have one in our library of things.
Yep.
It never gets checked out.
I have an extra one you can have.
Fantastic.
Donations. Great.
Would it work with a Mac?
Plug and play, it should. Yeah, I had asked IT to work on 2 things for me. One is for some reason, we can no longer scan from our Xerox copier to email. And it happened before and local IT fixed it. And this time around, they actually need to have a conversation between Xerox and Coughlin to figure out why it's not working. So I have a ticket in and I don't know if that's been resolved. So that might still be outstanding. And then print. We are trying to work on remote printing still and get that set up. And they had an update. So I was hopeful that the update would mean that it would work with the Xerox. When I signed up for this service, which we have been paying for, they assured me that the model printer that I had would work, but we have not been able to set it up yet. So I still have an outstanding, yeah, it's been 4 months, I think 5 months at this point. I would under COVID like to discuss patron printing and print. So I will hold off
Okay.
for the discussion.
Great. Any further discussion regarding IT updates? Okay. Friends update in membership. So I got an email from Ellen Gogan from the Friends board. She said those who haven't already submitted through the Friends website should have received a mailer. And she just asked, you know, who the current trustee board was, and I just let her know. I directed her to the website and just gave her a screen print of you know, who the current board members are. So if you haven't gotten yours and would like to make a donation, just please, you know, either reach out to me if you don't know the Friends URL, or I can put you in touch with Ellen. So, but regarding the Friends meeting, I don't believe we've sent a representative in a while. Okay. Any updates from their leadership? Dana?
No, but I have on my to-do list is to get in touch with Carrie this week, by the end of the weekend. So I'm going to start tomorrow and see if I can get her, and I will ask her about the next meeting.
Okay.
We can decide who can attend. We were trying to go a while ago. I think it was December, but I think they decided not to have a meeting. So I will ask her again, and I'll get back to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the last 2 meetings they seem to have canceled because I was
Yeah,
going to be going. I remember waiting for those or something.
yeah. We were actually, Doug, we were on their agenda. So I will get back and I'll ask her when the next meeting is. I'll report to you by Monday. If I don't hear from you, reach out to me, but I have it on my to-do list, and I'm going to find out.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I think we can table this and move on. Landscape garden, should we table that one, Beth? Beth Patch?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. So COVID-19 update, Beth Galloway.
Thanks. So when Grafton went to red status, which was mid-December, we decided that we didn't want any public in the building at all. I had Josie in occasionally when I was working. We had volunteers, just a few, mostly senior work off, and we've stopped having them in as well. And I thought part of our COVID-19 protocol as a staff was that we weren't offering any computer services except for Wi-Fi that people could get from their car or from right outside the building, which means no printing, no faxing, and no scanning. And I had since learned that several staff members have been offering that to patrons. So I asked them to cease and desist until I could discuss it with the board. I guess it's an internal library procedure, but I'm looking for feedback from you. I don't feel that we should be taking things from people and handing them back to people and taking money and making change and offering this as a service at this time. So I was looking for some thoughts. I guess my concern is we know that it's airborne. I'm not so much concerned about taking paper as people getting close, even masked, people coming up with a mask and taking their mask off, or people coming to the door, ringing the buzzer and trying to get into the building, even though we have said they can't come in. I'm basically concerned about public acting badly and people who are sick, who don't know they're sick, breathing in a space that now staff are walking into, even if it's just, that cloud mist, the person dropped their thing that they want copied on the bench. They stood there for a minute, they breathed with their mask on. My staff member goes out with the mask on, somehow they still get it because they're standing where somebody who is sick and carrying germs had it. But I think it's a bad idea. But I told them that I would bring it to you.
Yeah, so generally the way I think about it is, we have delivery people coming and delivering us things, day in and day out, because we can't go out of our homes. We're supposed to be quarantined and stay home if we can work from home and whatnot. So we have outside people bringing all kinds of goods to us, right? And they're handling things, I think about, just having the mail delivered, or, an Amazon driver. And a lot of times, they're not masked unless they're interacting with somebody, right? They put the mask on, but they're generally not gloved. And, we're all pretty much okay with that. It's kind of the, par for the course, like that it's a new normal to get things from delivery people. And we feel like that's a pretty safe process. And I'm not advocating either way, but I'm just adding to the discussion that this could be something that could be done safely if it's not currently being done safely at the moment. We already have a process for bagging things up and putting them on a shelf. Perhaps there could be a similar way to do that as well. If people really have the scanning and copy needs, honestly, where else can they go if not the public library? Do you have any?
My staff made a list. There are 5 or 6 different places that are fairly local where they can go.
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
And go to Staples.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't have an opinion either way, but I just wanted to add that food for thought. Go ahead, Beth.
I agree with Beth that shouldn't be happening. In more restrictive places, like my other job, that would not happen at all. In fact, we're not supposed to go to any other units or close like I work with 25 people in a closed section. They're not supposed to come up and use our copy machine. We do receive a lot of paper during the day, but we've all been given multiple bottles of all kinds of sanitizer, and it just wouldn't happen in the other entity I work, but it's really between you guys and Beth.
Yep.
I guess
Uh,
the other thing I would just add is I think the Grafton Water District has been completely closed to the public this entire time. And I know there are restrictions going into the municipal center, even without this recent thing.
The municipal center has been closed to the public since December, mid-December. So they
Right.
were taking appointments. They would not take appointments for people to use their copy or send faxes,
Right.
which they
You know,
used to
so
do.
Right. So I mean, part of it can be, just kind of following what some of the other town buildings are doing as well. So,
Okay, any further comments, questions, discussion for Beth, advice? Just to respond to Beth Patch, because I work in IT, and the customers that I support still do a lot of paperwork and printing and scanning, copying, and those are people who are working internal to the building, and they do sanitize the copiers. But I understand what you're saying, because it's very similar to what I deal with in my job. But I don't know that it's a fair comparison, because the public aren't coming in to use the copier, right? So I agree with you, Beth. If you feel that's not a good a really safe, if you feel that your staff could be compromised because of this process, then I don't think it should continue. So that's just my opinion. Yep, please, Beth.
I just wanted to follow up with your statement that I understand what you're saying.
Yep.
However, I work in what's called K3. It's hospital administration, and there were 4 confirmed COVID cases in our 25 people. Now, most of us understand that they're probably getting it someplace outside of the hospital. However, there were 4 confirmed cases. So, and that was really shocking. And I have to tell you that the CEO walked past my desk and I could feel flames coming out of her head. So it's a 50-50. It's risky.
Absolutely. Copiers are such a huge concern during this pandemic, for sure. Yep, I agree with you.
So my feeling, and what I told my staff at the meeting that we discussed it, was if people want to email a document, we will print it for them and put it in an envelope for them to pick up at curbside. And we can even add that printing fee to their account if we decide that we're going to charge for it, which, there's a pandemic, we're not charging fines. It's the, here, I'm going to hand this to you and you make copies and then come outside again and give it back to me that I'm having the problem with. And I also said that I would be happy to revisit it when we went back to yellow status, and or once we get print installed. But the argument seemed to be, these are people who have a paper document that they need a physical copy of. They can't use the computer. They don't have digital. They're not going to be able to pay with print. They're going to pay with cash. So we could agree that we're not going to make change. But I think at this time, where we are still in a red zone and we're now being recommended to double mask, that is just not appropriate right now.
Yeah, it's such a tough position to put library staff in, though, when they're confronted with that and they have to tell somebody, no, we can't do it. So I understand
Unfortunately,
that's difficult too.
They're not tracking that no, because when I looked at the December no log, there were no no's. So I can't even say, oh, it only happens once a week anyway. It's not a lot of people. I don't know how many requests we get. And it is tax season. We are anticipating our forms coming in at any point. And our usual protocol for taxes is we have the forms that come pre-printed where people can pick them up. So in good weather, that will be outside for people to grab. But we also have a policy that if you need a different form, we will print one copy for free for you. We won't print instructions. But if you need form 5581 and that's not a standard form, we'll print a copy and leave it in an envelope for no cost.
Okay.
I think that's what the bulk of it is going to be the next couple of months anyway.
I would say do your best job, but I think we have to be conservative because it's not going to help if we get people sick, you know, and the numbers are going up. So, I mean, it's just, and you're right. Fauci said we should be wearing double masks now. So I think you're doing a
Great.
good job. It's hard, but we have to do that. I think it's great that if someone sends it to you, you print it. That's good. And
Yeah,
you
I think
print
that's a
something
great
they can't get.
compromise.
I
Yeah,
think that is good because
Mhm.
most people can do that.
excellent. Okay,
Thanks for your support. Thank you.
great. Any other COVID updates? I know we spent a lot of time talking about a copier, but probably not much else, right?
I will say that now that we've been advised to double mask, I would like to, we have had paper masks on hand to offer to patrons. So they had been out at curbside because we really want people to be wearing masks on town property. You know, we have to, when we get out of our car, we're supposed to put the mask on, get out of the car, walk to the building and keep it on, unless we're in a closed door office then we can take it off. But I've said at this point, patrons should have their own masks. So I should not have to put out a box of masks for people to wear when they walk through the porch. I would like to provide them for staff so that they can double mask. They do have cloth masks from the town, which are probably only good for 50 or so washes and are due to be replaced. They also have the option to wear their own or different cloth mask, but where I'm kind of hearing it's not enough. And I have staff with kids in college and kids in public schools who are getting exposed that way. I would like to, purchase from my budget those paper masks for staff. We have some already.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, you probably know better than we do whether people are finding that those spare masks outside are really valuable. Are they being like hotcakes or?
They take, oh yeah, they take them.
Yeah,
Like we put them out and they're gone.
yeah,
But I don't know as people taking one.
yeah, yeah.
There's no camera.
No, I mean, people aren't. You guys haven't been advertised as a source for free masks, so it's up to your discretion if you want to leave them out or not. So if you want to keep them in, it's fine. Okay, great. Well, thank you. Moving on. Town Administrator Search Committee, Karen.
All right, well, I'm sure you have seen in the town newspapers and online, we are done. Evan Brassard, who's the town administrator in Munson, has been hired, and I believe he has accepted. They have gone through his salary. So that is a done deal. We're very excited about having him with us. And just in a strange twist, the new finance director that was just hired, Mary Laureate, is also from Munson. So we have their finance director and their town administrator both coming to Grafton, and I couldn't be happier and can't wait to see what they do here.
Well, thank you, Karen, for your service on that board. Seems like you had a lot of things to consider and some tough choices. So we know that we're getting kind of the best of the best, and I'm sure whoever else was in the running would have been a great candidate, but it seems like it was a hard decision. Okay.
Yeah, it was. All right, so thanks.
Great. Well, thank you, Karen. Any questions, comments on town administrator search? Excellent. So diversity, equity, inclusion statement. I think Stephanie was taking the lead on that. So unless there's any questions, comments, perhaps we can table that. Okay. A walkabout report, Beth Patch.
Nothing today, please.
Okay, great. So we'll table that. Policy committee membership. So as part of Daniela Sharma putting her trustee duties on hiatus, the biggest item for the policy committee right now is the room reservation policy, I believe. So we talked about that, I think in December, maybe even earlier than that. So I asked if anybody would be interested in joining the policy committee, and Beth Patch also noted that she also belongs to the policy committee as well. She helps keep us organized and on point, and lets us know kind of what's coming up for expiration and what we need to be reviewing. So, and Beth Galloway, of course, helps write a lot of the policies as well. And Beth, if you just want to maybe give a little bit of insight as to what currently exists, because I think you have you have all the policies in the town drives, correct? And you have kind of a draft policy, things that should be written that aren't written quite yet, plus the master policy lists and whatnot.
Sure. So we have a collection development policy that we should review every couple of years. We have a patron code of conduct that we review every couple of years. We have an unattended child policy. We have a minimum staffing policy, which is going to need to be updated because now we've got this bigger building with a different amount of desks. I think I forget if we've approved like an accident policy or how to respond to accidents policy. I don't think we have an official privacy policy. We used to have a service to people with disabilities policy when our building was not up to code, that we revised probably because St. Andrews is not perfectly up to code. The meeting room policy is the big one. We used to have a facilities use policy that sort of talked about the whole library, and that we could make it available for things like weddings or showers, and we have twice in my tenure, which has been exciting. So I sent Daniela, I think I thought Daniela was going to draft it, and I sent her a bunch of resources, but then when I checked in, she was like, oh, can you do it? And I went, not this month. Mm-hmm. So I have a lot of resources and a lot of ideas. I mean, we're going to be wrestling with questions like, should we have a formal statement that we don't allow latex or we don't allow peanuts, because people are allergic to those things, or that we have a sensitive smell policy that people shouldn't be coming in with perfume and cologne because it creates an unpleasant environment for people who are really sensitive to it, as well as what kind of groups can use the meeting room, how often can they book it? Is there a charge? Who do we charge? What happens when it's on Sunday? What happens when it's after hours? So these are things that we're going to have to wrestle with as we review, what do other libraries do? Can we revise something that somebody else has, or do we really need to recreate a local original policy? Usually what happens is we get a draft up on Google Drive and then give the policy committee access to it, and they have feedback and come up with a draft. And then I usually bring that to staff to get staff input. For example, we need a volunteer policy, and it doesn't make sense to actually write a formal volunteer policy without asking the volunteer coordinator to look at it.
Yep.
And staff, because they're in the trenches and they're the ones who have to enforce the policy, they often have really good input. So they get a chance to look at it. And then after that, I think that's when we bring it to trustees and ask you guys to look at it and review it, and put questions in the document, because that's why we use Google Docs, because you can comment as well as edit. And so Daniela was really great about saying, Beth, what does this mean? What does that mean? How about this? Did you consider this? And then I could, respond and edit and check it off. It was a really nice way to work. And then I see Beth Patch's responsibility is to be at those meetings, to be taking notes and look at the whole thing for grammar, and also to make sure that everything in the policy book looks the same, that it has the library logo, the town seal, that we're using the same font, we're using the same format, the same headings. And then to help me keep those up to date. And then once they're approved, we need to make sure that the approved version goes in the approved folder on the drive. And then I upload a PDF version to our website. So if you go to our website and look at about, there is a page that lists all the currently approved policies and the date that they were updated.
Would you share that on your screen just so we can get a sense of where we're at currently? And also, perhaps just, I guess, flag what the priorities would be for those who are volunteering for the policy committee. What would be, the next priority for the month, in 2 months, or 6 months from now? Do we have something that we could accomplish in 1 month that we need to focus all our efforts on?
Hopefully you can see this. So code of conduct is fairly recent. Facilities use, which is going to turn into the meeting room policy, we need to get that done pretty soon. I think that it has to be done by April or May, because even if the library is not open to the public in June, if we know we're opening July 1st or July 15th, we can license the room booking software, and people can start making requests that would be staff approved if we have the policy in place. So they know, yep, the soccer team is going to meet in the large meeting room, not to play soccer, but just to have a meeting in October, and they'll be able to book it. I actually would like to propose that we come to some kind of agreement with, I don't know if it's rec that puts on the farmer's market or if it's a separate entity that puts on the farmer's market, but it would be really nice if we blocked out our giant community room on Wednesday afternoons from noon until 6:30 p.m. so that if there's a rain date, the farmer's market can move over to the library. They're vendors though. We would need to figure out how to make that work, but it would be really great to not have the farmers. We had a lot of rain the summer before last, I think. Dana, you had a comment about that.
Yeah, I just think that I wish I could put some time to this because I think it's very important, but I guess forgive me, but did we also talk about whether or not what do we say about charging nonprofits or for-profit groups? And I guess the farmers market sounds great, but we don't want them to ruin the rug, but you'll have to figure that out.
I think there's tile floor in there. I don't think there's.
Is there? Okay, good.
Yeah.
And we can move the chairs out. That would be a very good will. And we get a lot of people to come to the library. You probably get a lot more. Well, we will anyway, but you probably get a lot, get some library cards issued. Yeah.
I think the llamas can't come in.
Okay.
Yeah, but, and I think that because we're a town building, like my printing fees follow the town of Grafton printing fee. So if you print something at the clerk's office or, you need a map from the assessor, they charge 50 cents for color and 25 for black and white. Okay. So I think it's going to be the same with meeting rooms. The town of Grafton will charge a $50 meeting use charge to an outside group. I think we would have to go to select board if we wanted it to be more.
And we have to figure out the custodian price, right? And if you have it on a cost, and what if you have it on a Sunday, then do we have to employ someone to be there on a Sunday? So they'll have to pick that cost up too, I would think. Okay.
So these would go on the facilities use policy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what room, would it just be the community room?
No, it would apply to all those tutoring spaces as well.
Yeah, I think the only exception is that community service room a meeting room is potentially available after hours.
Yeah.
Unlike the other rooms.
Exactly.
Because I mean, but the other room, you're not going to rent out the children's program room or the teenagers program room.
It wouldn't be on the list for an outside group to book, but I think if the local daycare association, independent in-home daycare, approached Sarah and said, we need a place to meet, then it would be at her discretion to say, oh, you can, and there's no other room available, then we don't have a program going on and I want to come to your meeting. So yes, I will allow you to meet, but it would be up to her. Same with, if there's
because we have a lot. I mean, we do have a couple rooms that could be used that way.
Yeah, but
not being used for particular programs.
Yeah, the makerspace and the children's program room would generally only be for library programming delivered by staff or paid vendors, as opposed to an outside group.
Okay.
Yeah, and we would also want a clause in our policy that says that library programs have priority and that we can eject you with a month's notice. That's what I've seen as standard on a lot of the ones I've been looking at. That if something comes up, and normally we book our programs out really far in advance. But if we were to need the room, we could ask that other group to find another space.
Okay.
Well, I think, two quick things. Do we already have a booking site that we use?
No, because we don't have anything to book. So my recommendation would be to use the same company that we use for our calendar software and museum pass reservations. Mm-hmm. Because it's I think it's going to be an extra maybe $600 a year, and they'll prorate it, but we get a discount by bundling. So the cheapest option is just to stick with Plymouth Rocket. We already have a relationship with them. We don't know their meeting room software specifically. It is what I used when I was in Haverhill, so it's changed, I'm sure. That was a long time ago. But my recommendation would be that we contract with Plymouth Rocket for May through December and have our policy in place. And what would happen is, if Doug, you want to book the room for building committee, you have to fill out a form, but you don't have that room until someone in the administrative office says, great, you're all set. And you'll have to agree when you fill out the form that you've read through the policy and understand, like, you can't bring in balloons, or you can't bring in peanuts, or you can't bring in llamas, and you have to pay $50, you know, whatever it is that we decide.
Okay.
So yeah, I would, I think that should go to the policy committee to start drafting sooner than later.
Yeah, like I said, I was working so intensely on interiors, I did not have time in January to work on it, but I can get a draft up in February so that we can, you know, instead of meeting in person, which is what we used to do, we used to meet in person and make hand corrections on a sheet of paper, but we are able to do a lot with Google Docs, and then we could just have a Zoom conversation as a policy committee to hash out our changes before we bring it to the board for a vote.
Yeah, so what I see over the next few months, at least while Danielle is making a hiatus, is a call for volunteers who want to try being part of the policy committee. And I know Karen reached out and said that, and maybe after tax season, but if there's others who'd like to, you know, volunteer and join, I think Stephanie also said she can't be here, but I'll speak on her behalf. She said she's interested, and Marty, I think you also said you were interested as well. Does that still stand?
I did say that.
Okay, great. So since Marty, you're the only one on the call besides Daniela and Stephanie, would you mind just connecting with Beth Galloway offline to figure out either how much you can take on regarding the facilities use policy versus what Beth can take on, and perhaps you guys can get some synergy and roll with that.
No, I can do that. Beth, I'll send you an email and we'll figure out how to connect.
Great,
Great, thank you, Marty.
thank you. One policy that
You're
doesn't
welcome.
need a lot of work and it should be updated is the material selection policy. It is really important, I think, for everybody on the board to understand how library staff select library materials, that we are anti-censorship, that we do try to provide things for every point of view. And there is a process if somebody brings forward a formal complaint about materials in our collection, and the process for going about to defend that. So we do have a couple new people on the board since that policy was approved in 2017. And that I would recommend actually that we revise that, because I think it's quick and easy, and put it on the agenda for February.
Okay.
Yeah, the material selection policy, it's right here.
Well, Marty, that's since Danielle is not available, you know, certainly that would be something that also, you know, you'd probably want to take on as well. Is that feasible over the next month?
I think so. I was taking notes on the other.
Yeah.
So, but I'll talk with Beth and we'll find out what we're talking about.
Yeah, I
And-
don't anticipate many changes to it. Just update
Okay.
it. Yeah, it's just makes it really, it's a way to make the board read through every page of the document and say, I understand what will happen if somebody says they want to ban this book at the library.
I'm not in favor of banning books.
Okay.
Good, you're in the right place. Me either.
Well, now we can throw them out the windows, the ones that we don't like, right?
So the
Okay.
workaround in more conservative communities is you try to get the book banned and it doesn't work. So then you or a friend checks it out and never brings it back,
Oof.
forcing the library to buy a new copy. Or somebody else to check out and never bring it.
Okay.
Thank God we live where we live. That's all I can say.
I agree. We have something to offend everyone.
Well, hopefully we didn't just give anybody an idea. You know?
I don't think so.
You know, as harrowing as it is a good process to go through. And I can tell you, I don't generally write up incident reports for these kinds of things, but I have had in the last year at least 2 patrons, say one to a children's and one to a teen staff member. You know, this book wasn't right. It didn't have what I thought it was going to in it. It wasn't my values. I really didn't like it. I wish I hadn't shared it with my child. And we kind of went through the process. You know, did you read it? And here are the reviews. And thank you for your feedback. And what can we do differently? Without ever needing to have any conversation about this doesn't belong here. Often the patron just wants to be heard, and it never escalates to this book doesn't belong in the collection.
Very
Now,
nice.
I do remember hearing one time, you know, some people actually go for the banned books to read because they can be the most interesting.
We often do a display. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Beth. And thank you, Marty. So the fine free policy, I've asked the policy committee to hold off on making that a priority right now, just because we've already put a temporary measure in place for that. So that's not as high priority, but I believe the other two we discussed are. So great. So on to advocacy. I think we don't have anything listed here, but I think you sent out the second round of vaccinations, COVID vaccinations for librarians. So if you haven't seen that petition, I think it's really easy just to sign it. It's one of those, at least the one that I looked at is one of those sites that tries to keep on nagging you, even though you've already signed it and done your best. I'll share it with more people. Okay, I'll share it, and I share it. And then they keep asking you again. So, but anyways, I think there were 2 articles that were pretty good. So if you just want to share the informational article rather than share the petition, you can certainly do that as well with other people. So great. Any other discussion regarding advocacy opportunities or? Okay. Okay, let's move on to the director's report, and then I think we can call it a night. So please, Beth, go ahead.
So I wrote it out, which I don't usually do. So in December, I drafted, submitted, and revised a library budget of $999,000 and change for FY22. I want to thank the staff and the trustees for their input who took a look at that. It was really helpful. I know that it's unlikely it will get fully funded. I continued to manage and review our COVID-19 protocol, our no contact curbside pickup, and remote services, participated in construction and building committee meetings, corresponded with the Friends about the budget. They are reducing their contribution because of their low membership numbers, so do your membership. We printed out their membership brochures and put them in the curbside bags for about 2 weeks. So I'm hoping that helped, as well as their mailing, to get some new members and new money to the Friends. I did arrange for gutter cleaning, procured the replacement laptop for Beth Patch, renewed Freegal after getting some staff input on whether it was of value and if people liked it or not. Reviewed some state aid requirements. They aren't sticking to the number of hours open, and I think they're being a little bit lenient on cuts, but still not lenient on disproportionate cuts. So I am expecting that we are meeting all requirements, even though we're not open to the public. The MBLC does want staff and patrons to be safe, so there's no penalty for not opening. And they did get a bump in state aid. I forget what the percentage was, but we get about $20,000 a year, and I think we'll see an increase because of COVID to our state aid in this next fiscal year. I attended the Ripple conference online. It's a rural and small libraries conference on data and statistics. I got a lot of new ideas for evaluation and compiling information. I ended up out on quarantine for 2 weeks after Josie was a close contact to somebody at Millbury Street Elementary School. So that was interesting to go through. And at any given time, it seems like I have one staff member at least who does not have any symptoms, but somebody in their family is being tested. And what we do is we ask them to stay at home and telecommute and work from home. And to my knowledge, luckily, I don't think anybody at the library has had it or transmitted it. We consider ourselves really fortunate and that we are doing the right things and it's really hard to be on site and not go and talk to your friend and colleague, and really keep your distance, but we have been. In December, we participated, it feels so long ago, we did Grafton Celebrates the Holidays. We had an amazing display that was coordinated by Beth Patch. Even though we didn't win the decorating contest, it was really awesome. We put out about 130 bags for patrons to pick up. And 67 families viewed a special message from Anna and Elsa of Frozen. Our YouTube channel has, I think, just under 100 subscribers, but we got 328 hits on children's and family programming in December. Sarah has been virtually visiting every preschool class at least one Friday a month to read stories. It was Gingerbread in December. We launched our winter reading program, which has a Star Wars theme. I know some of you are very excited about that. Somebody on Facebook was like shocked and excited that we were having a Star Wars theme program. I don't know if they've signed up and participated, But I think there were 67 new signups in the last month. They gave out lightsaber kits as an activity. So they packed up 40 bags and it's first come, first serve, and they put out a certain number every day. And when they run out, they put the instructions and the materials online so people can still participate at home, even though we don't have all the supplies for everybody. There was a grab and go kit for New Year's. They gave out 85 kits that had, and we made a video to celebrate that. What else? There was a Baby Yoda craft that might have been actually in January. There's unique reading challenges too. So if you haven't gone to Beanstack yet to sign up, if you go to graftonlibrary.org and put in /WRP for Winter Reading Program, you'll get the details and the link for Beanstack to sign up. So you can participate. And every month, people who have signed up and participated get a badge and a lanyard. Lanyard the first time, badge as you progress in the program. So there are physical things that go along with the virtual participation. We debuted, worked in December so that we could debut a children's newsletter. So we now have 3 library newsletters, a regular one, a teen one, and now a children's one. The list of yearly top 10 checkouts for CW Mars and for Grafton was included in that December newsletter, I think. Oh, January newsletter. We're starting up a teen advisory group. It will be virtual, but if you know any kids between grades 6 and 12 who have an opinion, which is any of them, they can email Allison at kushera@graftonlibrary.org to sign up and participate virtually. One of the things they're going to get to do is help vote on color and pattern for some of the furniture in their space, as well as what kind of decal they want on the big glass sliding barn doors that will close the maker space off. So, you know, teen participation is really important for teen library services, and this is a great opportunity for the Grafton kids to have input into how their room that they will be using is going to look. We've continued our Crescent Manor outreach program by curbside. So Susan drives over in her car and opens her trunk and does some distance interacting with people at Crescent Manor. They checked out 46 books in December. We did have 2 volunteers who did 6 hours before we put the kibosh on volunteers. Museums closed starting in December because of COVID, so we only had 6 museum pass reservations, and we've been working really hard to try and make sure that our museum pass offering list is current and accurate because they open and they close. I think maybe MFA is opening again this week for Children's Museum. Somebody's going to be opening soon. We have continued to keep those museum memberships because museums have been doing outdoor programs and online programs, sometimes members only, sometimes for the public, sometimes they have outdoor stuff and you can't use the pass. But from a, I guess, management point of view, it doesn't make a lot of sense to just like keep dropping and adding museums. So we've just, and they also need the money to pay for it. So we've maintained all of those, I don't know, 18 or so memberships, and we'll continue to do so. Discovery Museum in particular looks interesting. They're doing an online speaker series. We had a question last week that I had to say no to. Can I renew my passport? Because we're not taking in-person appointments. And I did talk to the passport agent office, licensing agency, and they said that I should send them a cover sheet that says that we are closed to the public. And all of us, our agent status expired at the end of the year, and we haven't like bothered to retrain because we're not open. And if we retrain now but don't do passports for 6 months, we won't remember. So we're kind of on hiatus as a passport agency at the moment, but we will bring it back when we're able to open to the public and get everybody retrained and our facility recertified. So it's on my radar. It's just not happening yet. We had a bunch of virtual book discussions on Slack, which is an online virtual channel where you can have conversations. Donna added 73 new items to the collection. Gum ukulele is on hiatus. Miss Jan is having some family health issues. So I'm gonna try and work with Apple Tree Arts to see if we can offer some ukulele skill building programs in the interim, since we won't have the jam group. I went to a CW Mars local directors meeting. They have them usually at lunchtime on a Wednesday, and they're really interesting. And I have a whole long list of development that staff has been doing on their own. Everything from going to other libraries' programs. Some libraries are doing like book review programs or history programs, to learning about libraries and homeschooling, to learning about what new books are coming out from various publishers. Somebody attended Small Libraries as third place, which I can't wait to see the notes on that. And I also challenge everybody to take a look at Novelist, which is a reader's advisory software. So they expressed that that's really what they want training in. So that's what our March professional development day will be focused on. How to connect the right book with the right reader at the right time. And you can only do so much with software. Some of it is also hand selling. We were also sad in December to say goodbye to Jan Parisi, who retired and moved south. So we miss her, but Sandia and Allie, Sandia from the children's room and Allie, our newest hire, were interested in picking up some of her duties. So they've been training, and Sandia is planning to go full-time to the adult services side, leaving a gap in the children's room, but beefing up adult circulation staff significantly with her 35 hours. And all of the people who work at CIRC, including our temps, were able to attend online our network's annual circulation meeting, where they learned about Evergreen and issues that libraries are facing around patrons and library card registration and all that kind of thing. And then I have some patron comments. Everybody loves the library. And in particular, we have a really nice message about our holiday tree decoration and how much somebody in town appreciated the number of different holidays that were represented. And how it inspired them to incorporate a Yule log and oranges in their holiday meal into their traditional Christmas celebration because of something that Beth Patch instigated and put up at the library. I have stats if you want to see them. They look pretty. I did manage to get my share screen. We did 681 curbside pickups in December, which is about average. 6 museum passes I mentioned. We didn't surpass digital circulation with physical this year, but we certainly came close. So our circulation is down 152% because of not being open, and people closed for 3 months. People couldn't come in and browse, and now they're just subject to the holds that they place. And digital increased. I don't remember. It was on the other handout I sent. I think it might be 32 or 34%. Big jump. This time, we realized that we were tracking every single request for a material that a person asked us. So we decided there's a report we can run for that. So for reference questions, we separated out a reader's advisory question versus I looked up something online and put it on hold for a patron. So reference questions total 661, but instead of doing that nice chart, which I've been doing in the past, I just decided to break it down this way instead. We gave out 17 library cards. I think it was like 30 last month. One of the exciting things that I found out, I'm starting to work on my annual report for 2020. We actually have over 10,000 Grafton residents that have library cards. And that's a new record out of 18,000 and change residents. I think it was 10,202. Only 8,500 have Grafton specific cards. So what the 10,000 numbers, people who reside in Grafton and have a Grafton zip code. They may have a Millbury library card because they went to the Millbury library and got their card there. But for our purposes of counting, they're considered a Grafton resident. Grafton is their home library. So breaking 10,000 borrowers, I think we have once in the last 8 years, but I'm very, very excited. And January's number is going to be even larger because some school teacher saw my January newsletter that said, I challenge you to make a New Year's resolution and use a library database. And now all of a sudden, like whole classes of kids, their parents are calling saying, my kid had a library card like 5 years ago, but it doesn't work anymore. And we need to get into Hoopla because this teacher said we have to use library resources for this reporter project. And I've had it for Hoopla, which is digital streaming movies, audiobooks, and some ebooks. And for Libby, which is our online ebook collection that also has magazines, audiobooks, and videos. So we must have given out or renewed a lot of cards in January. I can't wait to see what that number is. But
I think 17's great. I mean, I think that's phenomenal.
17 new borrowers for the month. So in September, we usually do 80 because that's library cards sign up month. Last month, we had 32 new borrowers. So even with not being able to come in and show an ID and get a card, people are registering online. And we're verifying their identity online and then getting them a card that they can use to either place a physical hold or access those databases. So for years we've been like, we go every September to every single parent open house and say, we have tour.com and now we have Freegal and we have Bookflix. And if you don't know what these mean, you guys need to go to graftonlibrary.org/digital and check it out so that you know about all these databases we have. But they're like they're getting used. So I will have a report too next month. That's part of the 2020 annual report for exactly how many people did use Ancestry.com and Heritage Quest. And mass driving test is a new one. And then I just threw together the social media numbers. We had Allison and I had a nice meeting with the new social media person and communications manager for the town, William Blake, in January, not December. But he really felt that what the library was doing and the back and forth and the response that we get and the integration of our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook page to our library website was a model for other departments to follow. So that was really great to hear. We do have over 1,600 followers on Facebook. 457 people following us on Instagram, 400 people following us on Twitter, and the bulk of that work is really Allison Kusher. Other staff contribute, but she's really streamlined it, and then taught other staff how to use Canva and Hootsuite to create graphics and then publish them to all 3 streams at once. And that's just the database count for December. Some of them are zeros because I'm still trying to get the information. For whatever reason, the reports function wasn't working for Teen Health Resource. And Heritage Quest, like that is really interesting. Ancestry.com used to only be able to use at the library, but they authenticated it for the pandemic, so you could use it from home. And Heritage Quest you could use from anywhere. So usually a lot more people use Heritage Quest than Ancestry, and now it's totally flipped. And Heritage Quest is still available, so I don't know why it's 0. But anyway, I'm happy to answer questions about stats or what we did in December. That's all I got.
Yeah, Doug, go ahead.
Sorry if I missed it, but how many teens did you get on the advisory board, or are you still searching?
We're still soliciting.
Okay.
Yeah, they haven't met yet. And we wanted to pull them together so they could vote on the decals that were going to go on those barn
Right.
doors and the furniture. And we're not at the point where we have those samples to show them to vote on. So
Okay.
Right. Okay. That's great.
soon.
I love the comment about one of the educators. Was it a chat? Were they challenging their students, or are they saying, you must use a library resource to complete this project?
I think it was you have to. I mean, I don't know. I'm not clear if it was a read for pleasure and you need to use this database, or there's a documentary on Hoopla that I want you all to see. I haven't followed up. We tend not to say, who told you this? Who sent you? Like we just go, okay, let me get you access. But I know it was a 5th grade teacher at Mulberry Street
Oh, that's great.
who said you need to download Libby and use Overdrive. Get your library card up to date.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I think that's just such a great model because, there's all kinds of reasons that people use the library, but for a long time, I never used the library, right? And the only reason why I started using the library is because my kids were interested, right? And then I became interested. So if you give somebody a reason to use the library, like that's how you win them over. And whether they use it or not, it's up to them. But they have to. Sometimes you have to be asked or have a reason. And I love that she did that. That's so cool.
That is
And
really
I think,
good.
Or
to
he
know
or
who
she.
it was.
Yes.
right, and I think it really shows just how much is available at the library and that sort of thing. I mean, my kids years, a couple decades ago here, had gotten a similar assignment to go to the library and research, this thing for a paper, but none of this online stuff was available. So literally the only thing there was an encyclopedia entry. And so it did no good whatsoever, and the entire thing just flopped. But now, I mean, you have so much available. It really is something that can work. So I think it just shows, what you've done to get all of these materials available is really paying off.
The hard piece is the marketing and getting
Yeah.
people to understand that it's there. And
Yeah.
you don't have to put yourself on hold for the Bone comic book because you can read it streaming on your computer right
Mhm.
now. 3 people at the same time can
Mhm.
stream Bone the comic book.
Yeah.
It's a very popular award-winning children's comic book.
Oh. I was wondering what you were talking about.
Oh, it's great. You read it, read it, read it.
Great. Any further questions, comments for Beth? Awesome. Well, one of the things that we can add to the next agenda is a teen advisor for the library board. So I emailed some information regarding some discussion from a library trustee group. So please review that if you haven't had the opportunity, and we can discuss it at the next meeting. Great. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, any second?
Second.
Great. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Doug Bowman,
Okay.
Aaron, I, Dana,
Aye.
Marty,
Aye.
and Karen.
Aye.
Great.